remember Jez drinking a craft beer, and he said, "You have to have a sip of this. It's incredible." And I had a sip, and I was immediately amazed at the depth of flavor. It was just incredible.
Been in the same job for quite a while, and I was ready for change, and I thought beer was maybe the answer, or having a brewery was the answer. And luckily, Libby and I met Mike and Sochel, and they thought, yeah, well, maybe we'll come on that journey with you. And that was really, really empowering, that other people believed in the idea and believed in Brixton, and that Brixton deserved a brewery. But also, if we didn't do it, someone else was going to do it. And I didn't want to be the guy that was in the pub a few years later drinking Brixton Brewery beer and someone else had brewed it.
So our friendship with Jez and Libby is almost entirely based on the fact that we were all really passionate about craft beer and the emerging London beer scene, and that we wanted to start a brewery in our beloved Brixton. Mike and I had our newborn daughter, and one morning we were wandering around Brixton, as you do when you have a newborn and you're not really sure what to do with yourself. And we decided to go and have some brunch in a pub called the Hive Bar, which at the time was one of the few places that you could get a good brunch and burger in Brixton. It was kind of like one of the first gastro pubs. And we went in, and there was only one other couple in there, and they also had a newborn. So we started chatting with them, and Libby first asked if we were Canadian, and we said yes, and she's also Canadian. And then we realized that we lived on the same road, just around the corner from central Brixton, from the Ritzy Cinema, and that we were all very, very interested in beer, and we had turned out to have really a lot in common.
When we were talking about opening the brewery at the initial stages, and I sort of felt like it was a bit of a pipe dream. We were chatted about it at the pubs, we did some home brews together, we're going to open a brewery, so to speak. And I think that I thought, if this happens, that would be amazing.
We knew the fundamentals or the basics of brewing, but we had no idea what it entailed brewing at scale. So Mike and I were both holding down full-time jobs. We had young kids, families to support. Mike's wife, Sochel, had recently left her company, and we thought, well, she can be the brewer. And we were so naive, we sent her on a 3-day course up to a brewing school in Sunderland called Brew Lab. And we thought, yeah, 3 days, she'll learn the basics. She came back with a folder, a ring binder, and I remember flicking through it and thinking, I think we're going to need a bit more information than this.
Having a family business, I think, especially when you run it as a couple with another couple who you're also friends with, is quite an all-consuming endeavor, I'm not going to lie.
Kids say to us, why are there only 2 of us? And they see other families with more kids, and like, the brewery is one of our children as well. And it really is that level of commitment.
You never know what the future might bring, or where one might end up, but if my son or daughter or both decided that they wanted to start their own brewery one day, I'd love to be able to support them and help them along that path. If they wanted to work here, then that would be great. It'd be fantastic to have some help and some nepotism in the brewery as well.
It was the neighborhood that really inspired us and inspired our beers, and there was virtually no other consideration of any other name. We definitely knew it had to be Brixton Brewery.
I feel a sense of duty to pay back to Brixton, and Brixton has been very, very good to us, good to our families. I say that Mike and I, Libby and Sochel, had our sort of flats there, and Brixton was very welcoming to us, and we got to know the community. And by selling beer pretty much exclusively to Brixton businesses when we opened up, and wheeling it down the road and that kind of thing, we made a lot of great friends, great connections, and we want to champion Brixton as a place.
What really motivates us is building the business, and building a really good, really viable business, providing jobs in a kind of producing industry in central London, which is really unusual.
We're growing, and it's exciting, and we are going to remain a family-friendly business. That won't change. We're going to make great beer. We're going to continue making great beer, and we are going to make everyone in Brixton, London, UK proud of what we've achieved.
So happy to be able to get this amazing, huge space in which we can expand, which is just around the corner from our existing brewery. We did our first brew day yesterday. So here's Cam, one of our senior brewers, just checking the beer, seeing how it's settling in and everything. How's it looking?
Historically has been a male-dominated industry, but there's so many more women involved now, especially in the craft beer industry, that I don't feel a minority. I'm sure I still am, but I certainly don't feel it, and I think that's really important.
I think that the industry needs to work a lot harder on diversity generally, because it's an industry that's built on trying to make people feel included, like they can all sit down and have a beer together and have a chat. But on the ground, it doesn't always come off that way. I think there has in the past been a lot of sexism in the beer industry, which is starting to be talked about, which is good to see and encouraging to see. But it's weird as a woman, because to have people say, to have people even have the idea that women don't like beer or don't want to drink beer or aren't interested in sitting in a pub and having a beer with their friends, because that's not at all my experience. When I was at university, myself and all the women that I knew, we all drank beer. I became interested in brewing because my mum was a home brewer. So in my experience, there are plenty of women out there who are interested in beer and who want to be involved in the industry. But it is definitely a male-dominated industry, and we need to work really hard to change that, not just for women, but to include everyone.
My dreams, I think, what are we going to be like in 5 years? I'd like to see this brewery completely full with tanks, possibly even some tanks outside, and just a real lively, buzzing, dynamic place, with lots of people working and loads of great beer rolling out to thirsty people all over London and hopefully beyond.